This next presentation is from production to render, and it's an exciting one. We have a couple of pretty well-known people, Jonathan Winbush, EJ Hassenfratz, and David Brodeur, aka Brilly. So from multi-award winning motion graphics artists and educators, all the way to Emmy award-winning 3D artists and a director and professor. This is amazing. I'll let you guys crack on.
First off, I want to say appreciate the Render Network, OTOY, for having us out. Fun story, I literally started here 20 years ago, a block down the street. I interned with Adam Sandler at Sunset and Vine. So it's pretty dope to be here 20 years later, just 2 decades in the industry. I mean, this is dope, so give a hand up for the Render Network, OTOY. Thank you guys for putting this together. So for those that don't know, my name is Jonathan Winbush. I do motion graphics. Just signed a book deal, so I'm going to be an author, innovator, educator. You can find me on YouTube. I recently became a Dell ambassador, so I've been working with Dell for the past year. I've been working with Dell for the past year. But what we're going to be showing today, we did a collaborative effort on, I'm going to be doing motion capture. Then EJ created a character. So my motion capture is going to go on EJ's character. And then Brilly created the environment. So everything's going to come together with Brilly there. Then you're going to put everything on the network and show everybody how the render network rolls. So we go right here. I want to show my setup. So of course I got to show off Dell. They pay me money. So big shout out to Dell. But my setup I use for Coco because I like using a motion capture suit. Now, if you know me from YouTube, I experimented with AI and inertia suits and all types of motion capture suits. But let me actually, if anybody wants to see it afterwards, if you haven't seen it, I brought the Rococo suit with me. And so the reason that I like this suit right here is because you can literally be like a one-man studio and just run all your motion capture by yourself. So as you can see right here with my thirst trap video, you can see me putting on the suit up there. But like when you use like AI video or AI, you don't see everything in real time. Like you can see as I'm moving my motion capture suit, untangling it on my computer, it's actually feeding back and forth to that computer in real time. So the way that I have it set up is I have a dedicated router hooked up to my laptop, and then that router speaks to this motion capture suit right here, and it's not hooked up to the internet at all. So like I could be out at the park, I could be at a warehouse, it could be literally anywhere, and you could get one-to-one feedback going directly to your computer, which is why I like using an inertia suit like this. So as I said on there, it's all wireless freedom. Like whenever I experimented with AI, like you're pretty much like enclosed into that crop of your camera, right? Like if you use a phone or if you use like a camera to record your footage, you have to make sure you're staying within that composition. But with a suit, you could do anything. Like you could be wireless and you could just run across the room. Like I have motion capture like rollerbladers and skateboarders, like just going all over the place. And you have the freedom to just roam anywhere. Like even if you have like an object, yeah, I was doing a little crip walk up there.
That's all AI. He can't really dance.
Yeah, it's all AI, but let me go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is all real time, one-to-one. I like doing a T-pose because I'm old school, but that's the way that I used to do it. Back then, you don't need to do it that way anymore. But as I'm walking inside of my living room there, you can see that it's not capturing. This is just actually like the suit connected to my computer there. And it's running at about like a 200 frames per second. So as I'm going through and I'm recording it, like I can see if it's messing up at all. You can see that if it starts tangling up, because sometimes if you like cross the sensors, sometimes you have to recalibrate it. But that's everything that I can see happening inside of real time, because if I did it like in the camera with AI, I wouldn't know if I had these mishaps until later on, and then you have to go back. So I always just like the flexibility of just being able to see everything in real time, what's happening. And then it's like, you see me skipping around up there. You can see down here in your lower left-hand corner, 200 frames per second. The suit that's right there in the top left, like each one of those dots represents a sensor that's on the suit. So you can even tell like if my left shoulder blade isn't catching the correct signal, I could go through, recalibrate it, get back to 100%. And since I used a dedicated router, that's how I'm able to get like such a high frame rate there. Like if you use a router that's hooked up to a bunch of devices, sometimes those like the different devices like your cell phone or your computer, we're all going to have interference. But if you have a dedicated router, that's my trick to being able to get high frame rates there. And so this is Rococo Studio. So if you look at the timeline right here, like you see each one of these dots here on the timeline, like the green and the blue, that stands for whenever you have contact with the floor. So you can see as I'm crip walking up there, every time like the foot lands on the ground, you can see that it starts highlighting. And so if there is any type of mishaps in there, you can actually click on each one of these here. You can move it over, and then it has like an AI sequencer in there that will actually pick up some of that on the fly as well. So if you just tell it like, hey, go through, use AI to kind of determine and analyze what's happening there, that's going to do that all for you. And then you're going to come out with a pretty good motion capture. Sometimes you have to do some type of cleanup in like iClone or Cinema 4D or Blender, whatever you're using there in the back end. But most of the time I could get like 97% there just using Rococo Studio. Like I did motion capture with Mixmaster Mike from the Beastie Boys. He's on a turntable. He went like his full speed and we caught everything up perfectly.
Do you have the gloves for that?
The Rococo gloves?
Yeah. For Mixmaster Mike, the hands?
Yeah, they're actually, I'm going to put them up on eBay at some point. So, but I was going to say, speaking of the gloves, I didn't use the gloves for this particular motion capture because the character that EJ created, he didn't have fingers. But if he did have fingers, they do have motion capture gloves that has sensors for like each one of your knuckles as well. So you can get really precise motion capture. I know I'm sound like I'm like shilling for Rococo, but that's not the case. I just like using their stuff when I do motion capture. But with the gloves, you used the gloves before, right? When you did the stuff with what's his name?
Scott Storage.
Scott Storage.
And then Andre 3000 put them on right after. So we should do a pairing,
right.
eBay auction with both of those.
We could do it. And I need a retirement fund, so. But yeah, so when I did my motion capture, I sent everything off to EJ. I exported it out as like a Mixamo rig, so that way he was able to bring it together inside of Cinema 4D. And then it should have been easy for you to just kind of drag and drop it onto your character, right? Like.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about the character design process and stuff like this. And hi, I'm EJ Hassenfratz, 3D director at School of Motion. How many School of Motion alumni in the house? All right, awesome, sweet. But yeah, we have a lot of fun over there. Really excited to be a part of this conference. You can see I've been with these knuckleheads all across the world and and this guy freaking people. Where is he at? He should be here. He's too cool for school anymore, right? But yeah, want to echo thanking Render Network for having us here. But yeah, so our whole thing was we had to make a character for our Winbush and I run a conference over in Tokyo called PXP, and big thing in Japan is mascots. They got Pokemons everywhere. Everything's got a mascot, and I think you're seeing that now in the age of AI. Like, how do you connect with a customer when everything starts to look the same and everything's just got that average generic look? Everyone's ripping off Miyazaki. How do you stand out? You got your Duolingo owl. You got Apple with the little finder guy. You guys seen that? That's like super new. Like, that's how they're marketing. Like, they get it. Apple's getting it now. So just putting that in your head, if you want to stand out, get a mascot. But that was kind of what I was tasked with for our conference. And so basically what I did was I was like, all right, how do I fit AI into this process while still being authentic to myself? Because a lot of the times I feel like we, as artists, we can feel very disconnected from that output if we don't have enough of ourselves in the input. So what I did was very terrible sketches and then brought this into Nomad Sculpt. And then I helped AI, or I used AI along with me as like a artistic assistant to help me just, you could use the term vibe code, but like vibe creative brainstorming session. So again, like the whole thing was like an idea that's authentic to me, even using AI. So these are my inputs, and I was using Adobe Firefly Boards at the time, which is, if you want like baby steps into AI, I really highly recommend it. If you got Creative Cloud, it's in there, it's for free. You can use any of the AI models in there too. But basically I went and input this, and I was like, I kind of like where this is going, but like iterate off this for me. Like keep a lot of what I'm doing, but give me different proportions, and in the style of like, the Japanese kind of vinyl toy art, which I'm like obsessed with. And so what it ended up outputting was all these different proportions. I don't know why he's drooling, but I really like the like very kind of frowny face kind of version of him. And so one of the things that was interesting is that, this is the logo, basically, was this X. And what it ended up doing was just chopping off the two things on the bottom, and it became ears. And I'm like, it's actually a good idea, AI. And so that's kind of like the helpful part about AI, is where we can generate a bunch of stuff, again, with a lot of our inputs, but we're the ones who are curating and making sure that what actually comes out is good. It's like, I don't know what the hell's going on there. But I just got like very inspired by this, and I was like, okay, well, I can take that, and I really like this kind of version, but the little balls for hands was a little weird. And then I just gave it like, all right, give me different poses and stuff like that. And then I was collaborating with a friend of ours in Japan who's a good character artist, and he suggested like, oh, if you want the hands and feet to read, you should change them to a different color. And so basically I was like, all right, let's give the hands and feet a different color. And AI did. I was using Nano Banana at the time, which is great, especially with consistency. And so then I was like, all right, let me bring this into Cinema 4D and actually model this. And this is where the artistic technical skills that we all have that sets us above some AI bro in his basement that doesn't know anything about any tools at all to be able to do anything with outputs or anything like that. This is where that technical knowledge that we all have, we can really be really dangerous with it. So modeled it because I needed to apply, motions to it. And so did that. And then what I ended up doing too is like, all right, I got this character. Let me test out different poses and just see what this looks like instead of manually having to pose this as well. And so this is again where Nano Banana was super good. I was like, give me different facial expressions, give me different poses. And then I was like, okay, once I tested this out, like I was like super happy with it. And so I got all these generated different versions, got like a 2D version, like Toon version as well. And this is before I had to do any type of rendering inside of Cinema 4D. So really like the thumbs and even how he like kind of had a pointer finger at one point. I was like, okay, that solves a problem. And then I had AI try to animate it. And this is where it really didn't work. It really kind of fell apart. And AI is hating me right now. It's hearing me and it's screwing up my video. But I was like, make the character jump around and look happy. And this was what the result was. And so I was like, this is where the power of, again, knowing that technical know-how of using Rococo and using MoCap and applying that to a 3D rig is really awesome. And so what I needed using is Mixmo to just get my base rig in the T-pose so I can match it to what Winbush was sending me. And this is a joke about how long it's been since Mixmo has been updated, but yet it's still so heavily used. If anyone from Adobe is here, can we do something about that, please? Everyone uses it so much. And so here is the whole process of like getting a rig, getting the MoCap in there. And the one thing that Winbush sent me a bunch of takes. And so I had to choose one where like his hands wasn't intersecting the head. And even the nice thing about that is that even if you get MoCap into Cinema 4D or Blender or whatever you're using, you can use different types of rigs on top of it. And this is me adjusting that rig and the motion. So anytime Winbush was waving and it intersected the character's giant head, I could just apply a control rig on top of it and then just adjust it. So which was super helpful. So this is what kind of that whole process was. And then Brilly came in, and I don't know what the hell you did at that point.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I am David Brodeur, aka Brilly, and so I jumped in on this project and took over, scene creation, lighting, texturing, brought everything on the render farm, and then did some stuff with OTOY Canvas. So I'm going to walk you through that now. Winbush got up here and EJ and their slides had them all over the world, different conferences. And I was going to do the same thing. I got all those pictures with me and all the other artists out here, and I had them up, and I was like, I came across one picture. I was like, actually, I think this is the only one that we need to show. I zoomed in so you guys could get a better look at it.
That was pandemic Winbush up there. It's like,
Okay, cool. So I jumped in, just talk about scene creation a little bit. For me, building any kind of scenes, it all comes down to scale. So you'll see, there we go. You'll see as it kind of goes through multiple scales of just different rocks. Let's just start with the terrain. And, from small rock, medium rock, and to like larger boulders. And then like the ground, I also kind of considered like there's going to be even tinier. I'm going to do something with like bump and displacement or something like that just to get that extra level of scale. And then really just like scattering things across the surface. When you're building stuff too, it's good to have a perspective of like what style you're going for, because for this, doing something that was a little bit more tune like, I was like, I don't really have to focus too much on the background. I'm going to use like get some atmospheric fog in there and depth of field. And so that's why you can kind of see as things recede further back in space, there's less and less detail because I know it's going to be obscured anyway. So I'm not going to put the time and focus and energy into that. And then like even the background, I just like made these really crappy little mountains just to help separate that horizon line from the sky. And then I would just want to talk to you about lighting a little bit. I think we overcomplicate lighting all the time. That's the biggest issue I always see with artists when they try to light their scenes. It's like too much. You're doing too many lights. Why do you have so many lights in your scene? Let's reduce that. I actually went really, really simple on the lighting for this one. I just used the Octane daylight rig and then just messed with the sky, the sun size really just to like soften the shadows up a little bit. But I think the most important thing that I also feel like artists aren't looking at enough is the adjustments in the camera settings that you can do. You can literally change the entire outcome of your final image just by working inside the camera. If you're using Octane, go into the camera imager, go into the post-processing, go into the depth of field and the different lenses that you can use, and it's a night and day difference. Now with this style, like there's maybe a 25% increase in from that render to that render just with messing with the camera settings, nothing else. But I've definitely done renders where it's like a 50% or 80% increase in that final output just by messing with the Octane camera. So it's very underutilized, and I know for a fact that I've sat with artists and I'm like, I can change your entire outlook of that final render by doing nothing more than messing with camera settings, exposure, highlight compression, gamma, all that kind of stuff. Go in there and spend more time in those kind of settings. Then we got to the rendering portion. So I've been using the render network now since 2021. So I've been using it for quite some time. I basically since 2021, I don't render on my computer locally anymore. And I stopped starting in 2021. I did a project with Scott Storch. We kind of mentioned him earlier. And it was kind of a rush project during the rendering portion. Spent so much time on the recording motion capture data and the concept and building songs and music. And then it was like, okay, rendering time is coming and I got to get this project out. And it was really the only reason that I was able to actually complete and execute that project was the render network. And it was super easy to use, but more so than that is that the team was amazing. I've never had a support in any other software or tech like I did with the render network. And when I saw that, I was like, I'm not going back. This is where I'm supposed to be. If you can get support, and the render network team is located all over the world. So as all you other artists, it was like 3-4 in the morning, and I'm trying to troubleshoot stuff. I write someone on the render network, and guess what? They're awake. They got right back to me, like all different types of hours. And that's really awesome when you're in production and trying to get stuff done. So rendering local for this, it was like 260 frames. It was going to take about 5 hours. Not terrible, but like we've got stuff to do, like there's other rendering, other projects we got to do. To dedicate my machine for 5 hours and find something else to do during that time is not really possible for me. So I threw it up on the render network. It took 12 minutes. Now, the 12 minutes, I started that timer from being in Cinema 4D and uploading it going onto the render network, submitting the job, rendering the frames, downloading on my computer all the frames, and that's the 12 minutes. So not even just like 12 minutes of just pure rendering time, 12 minutes for the entire process to come down with 260 frames, and I'm in After Effects putting it all together. And then this was the final kind of animation result that happened from that. Now, I love that, and EJ's done like all this really cool toon shader stuff for years, like over a decade now, that I really liked. And I always feel like the 3D toon shaders are just like not kind of evolving fast enough, and I want more control. And the toon shaders that do that kind of stuff, they take forever just to kind of tweak and figure out, and you're still just you're kind of giving in to whatever styles you're limited to within the software. So I decided that I was going to jump into OTOY Studio Canvas and start taking drawings of mine and seeing if I could apply that sketch, that drawing, that hand illustrative quality and have it render on top of my 3D. I have a lot of artists constantly hating on AI. And I can get the sentiment a little bit, but I also think if you're not approaching it right, it's easy to hate on AI. If you're approaching it like this, look, that's a 3D animation image that 3 artists actually physically built, and that is a drawing that I did in my notebook. I'm just having AI take the artwork that I own and the other artwork that I own and push them together to kind of create a new kind of visual. This was the prompt. I'm not going to say it just worked perfectly every single time. There was a couple mess ups. I have a little bit of a time lapse, and you'll see in the beginning, it like put some colors in there. I just wanted it to be black and white, and so like I adjusted the prompt just a couple times, but for the most part, it worked pretty seamlessly. And now it was a little tedious because I did this frame by frame. So in the sequence, I uploaded every frame, converted it over with an illustration style, then downloaded that frame and then stitched it back together in After Effects. But, they didn't take that long. They took probably about like 30 seconds each. And then it was like back down and download it. And then I was like, you know what? I'm having so much fun doing that. I'm like, I'm going to go take some more pictures in my sketchbook. I got my old portfolio from like high school and college, and I started scanning and taking pictures of those in and saying like, hey, could it do this? Could it apply that texture to my 3D animation? So another one, and it's like I wanted the graph in there and all that, and I like the pen, pen and ink on the paper. Wanted that to be applied to it, and I was like, yeah, that's really cool, and I feel like I own it. You know what I mean? It's like that's my drawing, that's my 3D. I'm not stealing any artwork from any other artists to make these things. These are both of my personal inputs. I had a linoleum like carved block that I had done for doing print transfers, and I was like, that's actually kind of sick. I would love to see a 3D animation done in that kind of style. Color pencil, right? And like, look at the translation. I'm like, it's actually capturing all this stuff. Now I used inside OTOY Studio Canvas, I was using Nana Banana Pro to do this kind of conversion, and those were just the 2 inputs plugged in there with a prompt.
So how easy is it to set up? Because I've been doing a lot of comfy UI stuff, but this looks like it's a lot simpler than.
I mean, it took me like 5 seconds to set it up. It couldn't be any easier. Yeah. And so, just charcoal, right? White charcoal. And I'm like, these translations are really cool. And this is stuff that I feel like if you want to do that toon style and shaders to any of your artwork, the 3D and the renders seem to be a lot more limiting. And this is a lot more engaging. And you have so much more variety in styles and personal control. You can just sit there and draw something really quick, scan it in and say, I want that now onto my 3D. This was an airbrush thing I did. I tried to show as many different mediums as possible. And even the airbrush like came out with like these nice smooth gradations, just like airbrush would do. And then this was the stitched together final version. Now there's a couple imperfections. I didn't change those. I left them in there on purpose. Did it stop playing?
Yeah.
There we go. But overall, I'm like, this could be a really cool effect. And I wanted it to feel like a frame-by-frame, hand-drawn things. So I like the shading, kind of like glitching and changing each time. I thought that's kind of what it gave it that personality. Cool.
Now, one of the things that since we've been working on this presentation, you've been showing the OTOY Studio and all that stuff. What you can do now with AI is like all this stuff changes week by week, right? One of the things that I've been seeing a lot that I'm sure we could probably test in the future in OTOY Studio is the ability to just have the motion capture rig from Winbush or whoever you get it from. Winbush is selling. He's gonna have a website where you can buy his dancing MoCap. It's like
free.
500.
It's all free.
All free.
All free.
Yeah. But you can input that like output that Winbush showed, and you could just have the character in like a T pose. And what you can actually have AI do is apply that rig to the character. No weight painting, no reskin, no nothing. Like no transfer. It just does it. Like it's just getting to that point where again the technical barriers, like all the non-creative stuff of just like, oh, I gotta tweak this rig now. You don't have to do that anymore. It recognizes like, well, we don't want the hand to intersect the head. It's not gonna need to manually keyframe it like I did. So it's crazy like how fast this changes, and I'm excited to see where OTOY Studio goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a work in progress right now. Like they're still changing it and finessing it, but I'm having a ton of fun in it. And I look at all this stuff as just like creative tools and what can help elevate our work and what can we do that actually offers something new to this industry and not just regurgitating the same stuff that we've already seen and that we're just doing constantly over again.
I'm gonna show myself real quick. So, Jules, if you're watching OTOY Render Network, if you want somebody to show this officially, let me know. I'm up for hire.
There we go.
I'm like a NASCAR driver, put all the patches all over me. You know how I do.
And he can crip walk, so.
Learned it from Uncle Snoop.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. EJ, Winbush, and Brilly.